Hey guys, Benefred here, and today I'm bringing you the defensive wall kind of bulky set I was talking about for r/Pokemon Turf Wars, the Galactic Pokemon selection defensive Pokemon. So I'm not very good at making defensive Pokemon teams. I'm usually a hyper offensive player, so I'm used to either setup sweepers or just Pokemon that have a lot of type coverage that you don't switch out on. You just hit until whatever's in front of you is knocked out. So this is, it's a team, I can say that much. We're running a Roserade, Cling, I can never remember, I always get Clang and Clang and Cling and whatever mixed up. A Duoblade, a Malamar, a Dragalge, and a Skuntank. So, as you can see, I'm physically bulky on two people. I'm especially bulky on two. I've got one setup sweeper, and then one kind of just, it's a pursuit trapper. It's really just here to, it's kind of a lead if I see someone who's gonna have a setup sweeper, especially something that's physical, because I can take physical hits pretty well with these two, but let's say it's a Curse Torterra, I'm doomed. So I have Dandy here to taunt, Poison Jab, Pursuit, Crunch, just there to be able to take a few hits and deal back with some massive damage. So, especially defensive Roserade, I've got Giga Drain to get back health because I'm not running Black Sludge or anything, Assault Vest so I can take a few hits, especially Ice Beams. Now if it's something fire-wise, I'm going to be switching out into Ursula for that big resist, Black Sludge. This team's really about switching out and getting the best switch for the opponent's Pokemon. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a defensive player by any means, but I can play defensively. If you guys watch any of my other videos, you'll see I'm more the line of I want to be attacking and I want to have the momentum on my side. I'm not a very stally guy, but I promised you guys I would try and make some kind of team builder thing for this, so I went ahead and tried my best at it. So we're going to jump right into the battle that worked. Now, this battle was very close, and as you can see, his matchups against my team are a lot better than my matchups against his team. This Torterra right here basically sweeps my entire team. I've got Skuntank weak to it, I've got Dragalge weak to it, I've got Clang and Duoblade weak to it, and Roselia. So that Torterra is a massive, massive, massive threat. And this thing right here stops my winning card. The only Pokemon that can really take on his entire team is Malamar. And this Pokemon right here, this little Galvantula trying to hide behind the Tyrantrum, has Bug Buzz, of course. I mean, if you see a Galvantula 9 times out of 10, it's packing Bug Buzz. So that thing right there can end my winning card immediately. So the two things I've got to try and take out are the Galvantula and the Torterra. Now that's just team matchup. Looking at it, I don't really fear anything else. He's fast, but not fast enough to really take down anything, and my guys are bulky enough to take hits from him, as is this thing. So the only two that really bother me are Galvantula and Torterra. So jumping into this, I actually lead Clutch because he's the most dispendable member on my team. I look at his team and I'm just like, whatever, Clutch is going to do nothing. So I'm just going to see how much an Earthquake can do. It'll definitely do more than 25%. So I'm going to go ahead and just shift gear and get off a gear grind because I need damage on this Torterra. This Torterra is a huge threat, so I'm just going to try and get off as much damage as possible. I'm going to switch into Ursula because I know it can't really take this hit, but if I can get a burn on it that severely cripples this, I don't get the burn, so that was a sack on Ursula. So now it's looking like I'm completely out of this game, basically. But I switched into Rosie to get off a big Leaf Storm, which should have killed, but it didn't, and it makes me angry. But I do, luckily, outspeed, so I'm able to get off a Sludge Bomb. That's threat number 1 down. Now, Squishy here is the other threat. So I'm going to switch into Goldrin, hoping I could do something to it, but I can't really. The Shadow Sneak does only 30%. I was hoping for close to 40, but then I noticed these Life Orbs. So it's great. I can switch in Dandy, take one Bug Buzz, and retaliate back and take it out, which is perfect. Now, the thing is, getting into Malamar. I taunt Tina so that way it can't go for a Dragon Dance because most of them pack it, which means I can set up with superpowers on Malamar here and not have to worry about him getting his attack higher to hit me even harder. So I am able, from here, to sweep the rest of his team. That's what this team, the way I decided to build it was. I put one sweeper on here, and the rest are just bulky Pokemon to really take hits and be able to dish out damage to do something. And I don't know if that's really going to work against the other teams, but I will say that when it comes right down to it, being able to have the bulky defense that we're able to have, we can get Dragalge, we can get Roserade, we can get Skuntank. That is really a bonus to us because we can actually take those hits. Now, like I said, Torterra really walls us. Any kind of ground type really does wall us pretty hardcore. Now, we do get access to a lot of Pokemon that resist fighting, and I do see a lot of how do we get over a fighting weakness. Fighting doesn't really scare me. It's mostly ground and psychic. Anything that gets psychic. Scarfed Malamar is terrifying and in you by itself, but when we're limited to the Pokemon that we have, we basically have to have a dark type on our teams whenever we go up against Team Flare, because if not, we're going to get destroyed. So Magmortar's kind of terrifying. So I'm going to switch over to the one that doesn't work. Now, the way that this worked, this was the game after that one. This one right here came before this one. And I decided that it was going to be that I was going to try and try the same tactic, but luckily my opponent catches on to that and he switches it up. So I lead Ursula, hoping to get a burn on this Torterra. I knew he'd switch it in regardless of his lead, so I am able to get 2 Scalds off, and it doesn't burn. So I'm screwed from this point with Ursula. So my next best bet is to go into Roserade. Oh no, I switch into Clutch because again, most dispensable member. I can get off a Gear Grind and at least try and get some more damage on him, so that way Roserade can come in and kill with a Leaf Storm. But I missed the Gear Grind, so there's no extra damage. Now that thing's basically at full. He catches onto this, switches into someone who resists it, who can actually take it. So Rosie's basically done for. I switch in to Malamar, hoping not to get burned and go with a superpower, and this is where it all goes to crap. Because I no longer have the offensive pressure, and I no longer have any walls to resist Galvantula's hits. So basically, it is just try and keep things alive enough to where I can attack back, and that was a bad switch for me because now Dandy can't live 2 hits. And this is the point where it's GG. It's GG from this point on because I can't hit him back. That's the problem. So the way that we're going to have to play these is evaluate the threats on the team. If there are ground types, if there are psychics, if there are anything that can really take us out. I mean, even we're not the only one with access to Malamar, and Malamar gets Psycho Cut. So let's say you've got something like Dragalge on your team. A Psycho Cut is going to probably take it out. I've never calced it, but it's going to do a lot of damage. So we've really got to play this safe. And I wasn't carrying. I think I was carrying Secret Sword, wasn't I? I don't know. Nope, I wasn't. Iron Head, Shadow Claw were my 2 attacking moves besides Shadow Sneak, and then I was carrying Protect just in case. So probably should have been carrying Secret Sword on that one. That was my bad. So Rosie kind of makes a comeback here. I was really surprised at how well she was doing on this. This Tyrantrum, though, I should have went for the Leaf Storm and not cared about it. But I went for the Giga Drain to try and get health back, thinking that he would Dragon Dance, but he just Ice Fangs. So the reason I didn't commentate over that is because there was no real reason to go into it. After that, after I didn't get the burn and lost Dragalge, it was basically over from there because of my bad switches and the missing of the Gear Grind. But that's the way we've got to play it. You've got to evaluate the threats on their team. With the limited number of Pokemon that we have, we've got to really focus in on what we need to take out. Evaluate your team's strengths and weaknesses. This team is super weak to ground. And I made it like that for a reason, just to show how even defensive Pokemon, I mean, no one on this team is weak, and no one on this team isn't bulky. I mean, Skuntank seems that way, but look at his health. He has 410 HP. That's incredible. I mean, that's Aldino range right there. So this team is incredibly bulky, and I just wanted to show that even with a terrible ground weakness, you can still win if you evaluate your threats. But also, if you don't, and you don't have a way to take them out quick enough, you're going to lose. So it's really about, with the way that these teams are going to be set up, evaluating and executing. So from the last video we learned you've got to keep a theme in mind. You've got to make sure that you have an idea of what you want your team to be. I mean, even if that's centering on your favorite Pokemon. I said last video, don't use just your favorite Pokemon, but if you want to use one of your favorite Pokemon, use him to his strengths. Don't use him like you do in game. Use him to his strengths in competitive. So keep a central theme. This part of the video is learning how to evaluate threats and being able to take out those threats as well as possible. And it really boils down to the fact that whether you can execute or not. So if the team isn't working and you lose a first battle, try and find a way. Don't change your team entirely. That's a thing I see all the time. People on r/Stunfisk or r/Showdown, rate my team, and then someone tells them, I could sweep your team with this, and they show it to them on a replay, and then they're like, oh, and they go ahead and they change their entire team. Don't do that. Change one Pokemon, maybe just one setup. Make something a choice scarf instead of a choice band, and it can really change the whole team environment. It can change it. It can make a team go from super defensive to super offensive. I mean, I could switch up. I could switch up and make Roselia choice specs, and make, I don't know. Let's see here. Make this assault vested, switch those around instead of leaving leftovers on it, and actually make this a pretty offensive team. Change this so that way all my invest is in special attack instead of special defense. Run Dandy as a physical attacker. I mean, I understand he's got life orb, but he's really just there to take a hit and retaliate. He's kind of a revenge killer. And this team could change from a defensive team to an offensive team with a setup sweeper in clutch. So you guys really have to see the theme that you want your Pokemon to be. I mean, Pokemon can be basically anything you want them to be. Now, I'm not saying that Duo Blade can be a special attacker, but I am saying that he can be physically defensive, or he can be a massive attacker and just sweep teams. So play to your Pokemon strengths, evaluate your threats, and take those out. And then in the next video part, there we go, coming up either later today or tomorrow, I'm not really sure. I have a little treat for you guys I got playing against Metal Beak yesterday in a Team Cypher v Team Galactic battle in which I kick his butt. I want you guys to understand that it's a progression. The theme, evaluating the threats, and then the next one is playing to your strengths. So that's the third part. Be on the lookout for that. I'm Ben and Ferret, guys. Thank you for watching. Sucker punch that like button. Subscribe if you enjoyed. And I will see you guys next time.